daredevil.
Is he?
Yes, he's a pretty amazing young guy. If this is the generation coming up behind us, I think we're in good shape.
Okay. All right, well, we can get into that in a few minutes, but let's get started with Philip, because Philip's here, and Philip, always great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Philip.
Both of you.
Great hair. I have to say it on air. It's just amazing hair.
Oh, shucks. I did it just for you, too, Sandy.
See, there you go. Okay, so Philip, what are we talking about? You're doing a support group
there's
thing?
I'm a psychotherapist, and I was doing a talk recently for a group in Hamilton called Mood Menders. It's a support group that started in 1985. Doctors, nurses, and so on started it, and then they turned it over to the members, to the people, the customers. And they've been running it ever since. It's volunteer, and they provide support groups and support help of all kinds for people who are dealing with clinical depression and bipolar illness, this kind of stuff. So to help them self-help, helping each other. They have a group that meets a couple of times a month where people can come and just share what's going on. They can get resources, that kind of thing, led to where help can be, so on. So we're doing a talk on psychotherapy and how that can help them. And it's really, really good for both people who've got concerns around things like that, mood disorders, who are suffering with depression, have people in their family that are.
And who does not know someone who's suffering from, like, everybody knows somebody.
What's there not to be depressed about? Right,
he
Philip?
says that with a smile.
Yeah. You remember the last time I was on, I told you about clinical evidence that actually things are getting better.
What things are getting better?
Most things,
like the world.
Most people things are getting better in the world
I think if you
overall.
talk to the
that's only because
industry,
that's only because of cheap energy. Wait till that hits the wall.
What a silly.
Or is that because of all these mood-enhancing drugs we're taking, and it just appears that things are getting
what things are getting better?
I feel like I'm in a hostile environment here. I don't know why.
We're just giving you, getting you ready for
the gears.
For your, because these are people in Hamilton you're going to be dealing with.
Yeah, we're talking Steel Town. Okay, you need to have your steel shield.
Okay.
No.
Hamilton. All right.
I love Hamilton, by the way. I really do.
I do too.
But anyways, so please.
Say that louder again.
Huh?
I want to hear that again.
I really love Hamilton.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, I'm going there on Tuesday.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. You better go quietly.
After this show, yeah.
Right. Yes, yeah. Anyway, so where was I? I mean, no. The whole idea of this is really, things are improving a lot, and one of the things that I'm going to be helping them with is talking about therapy, what it's about. So this can be for anybody who's interested in this whole idea. It might be that people are getting into psychotherapy and they want to understand better what it's all about. It's also to take some of the stigma away. Because even today, I mean, when I started training and as a client back in the 70s, that's why the gray, by the way, Sandy, since you were one. There was a lot of talk then about the stigma that goes with emotional issues or mental illness, whatever you want to call it. And it's really unjust because it's people, I mean, it's like your car breaking down. It's no more a moral issue than that. There are things that happen, people need help, and we want to basically spread the word about how they can get it. And also to let people know about there's a huge change happening in the healthcare system right now, which I mentioned to you guys the last time I was talking to you.
Yeah, what's going on? Because I'm not aware of what is it?
There are 5 new colleges, as I understand, being brought in to regulate and register different types of people, including for my group, psychotherapy. Up until now, psychotherapy's been unregulated for like a century. And certainly by the 60s and 70s, it was getting very prominent in Ontario. And so the provincial government wants to apparently spread the availability of various kinds of health care around for mental health. And so they wanted to encourage people to know about us, and they felt that if they were going to do that, they should regulate us, which is fair. I can understand that. So as of April 2013, next year, there will be a new college, and the 4 colleges already, doctors, psychologists, social workers, and nurses, their members do some psychotherapy. They're governed by their own college if they do that. But for anybody and everybody else, it will be us. And that includes people who are doing some psychotherapy. The part of what they do, which is psychotherapy, they'll have to be talking to our college about. So people like addictions counselors and so on, that if they're doing psychotherapy. It's defined under the law now. It's called the Controlled Act, and you won't be able to do it unless you're licensed. So it will be registered psychotherapists, and those people who are doing it as part of their work, it's a new designation coming in also, registered mental health therapist. So this provides basically the idea, I'm sure what the government had in mind was to basically make things available more to a lot more people, give them more choices, because it's their choice. They should be able to choose their own treatment. And so this is partly to explain just what psychotherapy is, which doesn't matter who's doing it, but also to explain the changes in the healthcare system that are happening right now.
So is it going to be on par? Do you see it going to become as credible and respectable as a doctor or as nurses or as psychologists?
Well, we're already out
hope?
there. I mean, we have been for many decades. You know, I started training in 1973, so we've been around.
Okay.
I suspect it will over time, that's right, and I suspect you'll start seeing people like us moving somewhat more into the mainstream. Generally, we like to work in private practice. That's what we do. I'm not big on bosses. So, and I've got my own creative stuff that I want to do, so I don't want to have to answer to someone else for that. But I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing registered psychotherapists alongside psychologists, psychiatrists, and so on as time goes on. Yeah.
I mean, that's a big, interesting, because even I think some people have a trouble with the distinction between a psychiatrist and a psychologist, right? And so now we have psychotherapists as well.
And it's even more confusing, and that's why people have to ask questions, and that's why talks like this. Great segue. Good work, you. See,
you should be a psychotherapist.
It varies from discipline or from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. I'm using material, for instance, that a psychologist in New York City offered us from his, well, we asked him, and he said, go ahead. It's his copyrighted material. He's been very generous and trusting with this.
Wow.
Dr. Bennett Polog in Manhattan. And we're using his material for a lot of the handouts and so on. He's done a really good job of putting together some stuff to explain what this is, what therapy's all about. But I've had to cut out the section where he's talking about how to find a therapist, especially around credentials, because it's different in New York State than it is here.
Wow.
So it's partly what I'll be doing is to talk to people about the differences, how they can get, how they can find out information, where they can look for help, that kind of thing. So, because yeah, you're right, it is. I mean, psychologists have, used to be called counseling psychology. That was what they called psychotherapy a lot of the time.
Like Bob Newhart.
Yes. You seen that clip on YouTube that Bob Newhart did? That's a really,
my
the
God,
5-minute therapy thing.
So
it's hysterical.
Funny. You have
to
watch it.
Yeah,
you know what? You got to watch it. Maybe if we can find it.
Well, maybe we can.
Oh,
it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
What's it about? About psychotherapy?
Yeah. A woman comes in, sits down, and in front of him.
Yeah.
And he says he has a 5-minute session, essentially. Really, for like $2.50 or $5 or something like
$5,
that.
I think.
And the way it works is that she'll start talking about what she's doing that's kind of weird, and he'll say, "Stop it!"
It's
that's it.
Funny.
Wait, now is this a new thing, or is this one of those
this
old-time
is from his
Bob
old
Newhart?
show. One of his shows.
From the show.
From the show where he played a psychologist.
It's classic.
It's very, very funny.
It's got millions of views. It's classic.
Yeah.
So, Phil, in your opinion, do you think this is a good thing then?
I was really against it when I heard about it.
Yeah.
Because
I remember.
since the 70s, psychologists twice have tried to become the regulating body for all forms of psychotherapy. And even the doctors reared up on that and said, sorry, not going to happen. And I remember talking to my own MPP back in the 70s because I was worried about what might happen, my ability to see my therapist. And it was Alan Grossman. He's no longer alive. He was a minister in the government at that time, Bill Davis's cabinet. And I was really amazed at something he said. He said, we have decided in cabinet that we don't know anybody that can tell us what is good psychotherapy. Therefore, we're not going to let the psychologists become the regulators for everybody. And I thought, that is so enlightened.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And
wow.
I've seen other things around that the civil servants are doing around this process that's happening right now. There was a strong push to get for the like I'll be grandfathered, God willing, but for other people coming through, they're trying to set the bar. They're trying to set some regulation, and it's people who are therapists and members of the public. That's how they put together a new college. The government puts in eminent members of the public to represent the public interest and representatives from that discipline. So they then go about creating the college, and then they got to report to the government. Now, one of the reports where they went to it, they said, I know this because I've been sitting in all the meetings as an observer. They said, well, we'd like people to have a master's degree from now on if they're going to be psychotherapists. And what? In
what? Anything?
In psychology. But you've got to remember, how many years does it take to get a master's degree?
Yeah.
At least 6 if you start from 0, right? Getting a BA as well. You've got to pay for all that. Then you've got to train in psychotherapy, which you don't get. very much in universities at all. There are over 160 private training schools that I am aware of in Ontario that train in this stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a happy medium of regulation versus no regulation.
But you know what the civil servants said, which I really, really thought, oh my God, I love that. They said, no, you can't do it. Because we regulate colleges, we've seen this before, it's what we call creeping credentialism. You do it just to impress each other. This is not about the public service.
There's an even term, there's a term for it even. Oh, cool. It's called ego.
Yeah, and they were saying this is not about public service, this is about impressing each other. And I thought that is enlightened too. I really appreciated hearing about that. Wow, that's amazing.
Now how much do we really know about psychotherapy? Because psychotherapy is a lot about the mental health, right? It's all about the mental health, mental and emotional health.
This is why we want to get the stigma out of it. Because if this is Sandy, this whole room, if this is the Sandy you know, that's your conscious mind. This whole room is the unconscious. It's much bigger, it's much more powerful, and it works on different rules. And unless you understand what's going on...
He's just drinking me.
Exactly. Unless you
tastes good. Actually, kind of flavorless.
Flavorless. Okay, I'll just let you two carry on here.
Okay.
But it's
see, it's so intense. I've got to kind of break it up a little bit.
You really have to fight to get attention here. You know, I've noticed this.
It's been a while since we did a show, Philip. We're just learning how to do it all over again here.
He's going to accidentally spill this on me.
Okay, so wait a sec. So with this new regulation, is it a good thing, or is it too much regulation? Do you think?
Well, it's a done deal.
I know, but
it's a done deal. Really?
Is it good or bad? We need judgment.
What I like about it is the only thing I was really worried about it was that because therapy's grown up in so many different ways in the outside the regulated area, there has been an enormous amount of creativity happening. And what I've seen as I've been sitting in on all these meetings with the Transitional Council that's doing this is they are working very, very hard, and it seems the government's really pushing for this, I gather, to preserve that flexibility, preserve the choices that are there for the public. So they've been working very hard. For 2 years on it now, I've been watching them do this.
Wow.
So it's a done deal, and we're trying to make the best of it, for sure.
So did they even ask for your input, for psychotherapists' input?
A lot.
Okay,
oh yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah. It's been insisted on.
Good.
And the government keeps saying, okay, you got to go back and go over this again. Public hearings.
So it sounds like a good process.
Oh, the process has been very meticulous, yeah.
Okay.
They're working hard on it.
Well, you're a lot more positive.
I want to joke, but about this, these are people that are working their butts off on this, and so I want to be respectful of what they're doing.
Well, and it's really refreshing, because last time we talked, which was, what, 6 months ago maybe?
I can't remember, but yeah.
You were not at all happy about it, and you seem much more at ease about it now.
Well, yes, that's why I decided to go and really find out what was going on.
Good for you.
So
good.
I attend every meeting they have, which is usually once every 3 months.
Wow, every couple or 3 months, okay.
Yeah, public meetings.
And just talk a little bit about the mood thing.
That's right. So this is in Hamilton. It's going to be at the St. Joseph's Hospital in Hamilton. Let me just see. I wrote it down. The Fontbourne Hall, or Fontbourne Building, the Stelco Amphitheater.
Okay.
So give yourself a little extra time. It's going to be from 1 o'clock to 4. July 14th, which is the first day, and each Saturday thereafter for a total of 4 Saturdays all the way to August 4th.
And what is the cost?
It's free.
And now, can people still register for it?
Yep.
They can. We got a phone number, right?
I'll give you the phone number. It's 905-521-0090, extension 234.
And where is it in Hamilton, St. Joseph's?
It's right downtown.
Okay.
So you can Google it and find it.
Below the mountain.
Just one word, when you phone that number, if nobody answers, remember it's a volunteer organization. They will get to you. Just leave your message.
Can you just show up, though, if you don't get a chance to call?
Yeah, I would suppose so, but I would ask you to do the courtesy of the people who are putting this thing together for it, to give them a call if you possibly can, yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier that this support group is for people you mentioned with depression, clinical depression, but also people with bipolar.
Yeah.
Those are two very different
both mood disorders, right? And there's others, but yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the funny thing was that if I had gone through the medical system, I probably would have been diagnosed as bipolar, or in those days manic depressive. You know, the mood swings up and down, and it's like crazy. And it's when it's serious, it can really totally disable a person's life and threaten their life, actually.
Yeah.
Whereas depression too, if a depression gets out of control, it can become they call a grand mal depression, is one of the words for it. And it's just like spinning down where suicide can often come.
Now, as a psychotherapist, though, of course, depending on and these diagnoses can be a little fuzzy. You know, like it's hard to really pin down sometimes what the exact problem is, and then how do you treat it? Because sometimes you can treat it with talk therapy, sometimes you need to treat it with drugs, and that goes to that whole question of, and as a person who might need some sort of help, how do they decide whether they see a psychotherapist, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist?
Go through the process, and I mean, first of all, if you're having something that's really, really that serious, go to your doctor. That's a very interesting set of rings you've got. They're magnets.
Can't believe, Philip, how many times have you been on this show?
I've never noticed those before. Your hands stick together. That's to keep you out of trouble, right?
I can't believe, after you've been on the show so many times,
They're
now noticing the rings of immortality.
They're actually, he calls them immortality. They're really like handcuffs with rings. They're like finger cuffs.
Well, I noticed him yank his hands apart there in order to have a drink. So
it's to keep him under control.
Or to pray. I don't know. Maybe do something like that.
They're good for that too.
Sorry, what was the question you asked? Oh yeah, how do they find?
See, you've got you.
How do you know? Who should I see, Philip?
Okay.
Is this where you go to like CAMH, where it's like a house where they can actually evaluate you or assess you?
It depends. You can go start with your GP. Okay. I would often recommend. I mean, it depends. You go to the people you trust. See, if you got first of all, if you've got physical symptoms coming up, always go to your doctor. If it's a straight thing where you think it's emotional, then it's you can start looking for therapists in various places. It's like one of the best ways to do it is to talk to somebody who's been through getting help someplace. If they feel good about what happened, that's a good start.
Well, what's a physical symptom of depression? Not eating, not sleeping?
Back in the 60s, before I went to get help, I was depressed. I couldn't sleep.
Okay.
Not being able to sleep is a good one. Irritability, various things like that come up. The behavior changes that look like somebody's really in distress.
Okay.
And if it's showing up where they're getting so strong as that, and where physical health might, like they weren't sure, for instance, why I was sleeping so much. It was a lot. So I went through a complete physical, which is a really good idea. If you ever think there's something physical going on, go to your doctor, go through a complete physical. Then you can start looking for some help. As I said, there's lots of different ways to do it, but through your doctor is one way. People like me, generally speaking, you've got to go out and find them from somebody who knows about it or something like that. Will become more highly visible now.
Wow.
Psychiatrists and psychologists tend to be grouped together under the medical model, I always make two suggestions to people. If you're looking for help, and this can go with more than just therapy, if you're looking for help, talk to somebody who's been through what you've been through successfully. You're going to follow footsteps through the swamp, follow footsteps that come out the other side.
Yeah, that's great advice.
The other thing is, can I talk to this person? Is the chemistry good? Do I feel good talking? And you'll know that one fairly quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. But even the way you describe when you say go to your doctor and all that, you're already suggesting how integrative it is. So it sounds like this regulation is a really good thing because it'll be more integrative with all aspects of healthcare.
Hopefully. There's lots and lots of times where that doesn't work out, but that's the ideal.
Yeah.
And one of the things that all of us have to watch for, when the thing about medicine comes up in psychiatry, I tend to get some feelings about that because of my own history. But what I've realized when I'm talking to these folks is I got to rein that in.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know everything. I know about therapy, but there's people that know other things about therapy that I don't know, and certainly don't know about medical stuff. So each of our disciplines tends to see things through our own eye.
Yeah.
And so we've got to be open to the others for the sake of the people we're trying to help.
That's wonderful. Well, good luck.
Philip, well, good luck in Hamilton.
Okay, thanks.
Wow, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be a good get together. Yeah.
So again, is there a website for people in Hamilton to check out, or is the phone number the best we can do for them?
Phone number is the best route.
Okay, 905-521-0090.
Yeah.
And if people want to get
extension.
Extension 236.
234.
234.
You'll get somebody else then.
All right, 234.
They could go to. There's some information on my website and certainly about me if they go to www.philipames.com.
And that's Philip with one L.
One L and AMES.com. That's right. And I've got some stuff on there, but the phone number for that is the way to connect with the mechanics of going to that place. Yeah.
And then we're going to come back with these guys, and Liquid Lunch continues here on a Friday the 13th. We'll be right back.
To wanna get over you, to wanna get over you. day you said goodbye was the hardest day of all. You said that it was over, the rest I can't recall. It didn't mean that much to me when you spoke your words of truth. The sound you made bounced off my face, but it never followed through. And now I'm left with emptiness and a hole inside my heart. I need to clear my mind of you, but I just don't want to start. 'Cause I don't want to get over you. I don't want to have to say we're through. I don't want to end this lover's fight. Don't want to turn out your light. I don't want to have to say goodbye. Tears are falling and I don't know why. Although I know our time is through, I don't want to get over you. We had our troubles and we had our fun, all those arguments that no one won. You mad at me and me mad at you. Those endless nights is our love through. But more than that, we share one life. I thought one day you would be my wife. Though the vision seems lost from sight, I wanna tell you, but the time wasn't right. I'm trapped in loneliness and drowning in my shame. I wanna feel the rap on you, but I'm the one to blame. Yeah, 'cause I don't wanna get over you. I don't wanna have to say we're through. I don't wanna end this love's fight. Don't wanna turn out your light. I don't wanna have to say goodbye.